The Ants and the Grasshopper. On the edge of a sunlit meadow, in a quiet little clearing surrounded by trees, there lived a busy colony of ants. They were hard workers, and all summer long, they had toiled tirelessly, carrying food back to their nest. Each tiny ant carried grains of wheat, seeds, and bits of fruit, storing them away for the cold, harsh winter that was sure to come. They worked under the bright sun, their small legs moving quickly as they marched back and forth, day after day. Not far from the ants' bustling nest lived a cheerful grasshopper named Jolly. He was a carefree musician who loved nothing more than to sing and play his fiddle. Every morning, Jolly would wake up with the first rays of sunlight, stretch his long legs, and take his fiddle to the middle of the meadow. He would sing and play lively tunes that made the flowers sway and the butterflies flutter happily in the breeze. "Come and dance, little ants," Jolly would call out whenever he saw the ants marching in their neat little lines. It's a beautiful day to enjoy life and music. The ants, though polite, always shook their heads. "Not now, Jolly," they would reply. "There is work to be done. Winter is coming, and we must gather food." Jolly would laugh and wave his fiddle in the air. "Winter is so far away. Why worry about it now? There's plenty of food and plenty of time." Then he would play a new tune, hopping joyfully through the tall grass, while the ants continued to work. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The sun grew softer, and the warm breeze began to carry the scent of fallen leaves. The meadow turned golden as autumn arrived, and the ants knew that winter was close. They worked even harder now, carrying their last bits of food into their nest and sealing it up tightly. Jolly, on the other hand, was still singing and dancing in the meadow. But as the days grew colder, he began to notice that the flowers were disappearing, the trees were losing their leaves, and the once lush grass was turning brown. Worst of all, the food he used to nibble on so easily was no longer there. One day, as a cold wind blew through the meadow, Jolly sat on a bare tree stump and shivered. His fiddle lay quietly by his side, and his stomach growled loudly. "Oh dear," he said to himself, "I'm so hungry. What will I do?" Suddenly, he remembered the ants and their busy nest. They must have plenty of food, Jolly thought. "I'll go and ask them for some." Jolly hopped slowly across the meadow, his legs tired and his heart hopeful. When he reached the ants' nest, he knocked gently on the entrance. After a moment, one of the ants poked his tiny head out. It was the same Ant Jolly had seen many times during the summer. "Hello, little ant," Jolly said weakly, trying to smile. "It's me, Jolly the Grasshopper. Could you please share some food with me? I'm very hungry, and there's nothing left to eat in the meadow." The ant tilted his head and looked at Jolly with a kind but firm expression. "Oh, Jolly," he said, "why didn't you gather food during the summer like we did? We worked so hard, and we warned you about winter." "I was too busy playing my music," Jolly admitted sadly. "I thought the food would always be there. I didn't think winter would come so quickly." Just then, the ant leader appeared, surrounded by other ants who had been listening. "Jolly," the leader said kindly, "we ants worked day and night because we knew this day would come. You spent your summer singing and dancing while we prepared for the future. We cannot give away the food we worked so hard for, or we will not have enough to survive the winter." Jolly lowered his head, ashamed and disappointed. "I understand," he whispered. "I was foolish. I should have listened to you and worked when I had the chance." The ants watched as Jolly turned to leave, his fiddle dragging behind him. They felt sorry for the grasshopper, but they also knew they couldn't give away the food they needed to keep their colony alive. Jolly spent the next few days huddled under a tree branch, trying to stay warm. He had no food, no shelter, and no music left to play. As he sat there, he thought about how he had wasted his summer. Then, one bright morning, the ants appeared outside their nest. They were carrying little bits of grain and seeds, which they carefully placed in front of Jolly. "Here," said the ant leader. "We will share a small amount with you, but you must promise to learn from this lesson." Jolly's eyes widened with gratitude. "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I promise I'll never be lazy again." Next summer, I will work just as hard as you do and gather food for the winter." The ants nodded, pleased with Jolly's promise. They watched as he carefully ate the food they had shared, his energy slowly returning. When spring finally arrived and the meadow turned green once more, Jolly was true to his word. He spent the summer gathering seeds, grains, and fruits, carefully storing them in a safe place for the winter. He still played his fiddle and sang songs, but only after he had finished his work for the day. And when winter came again, Jolly sat in his warm shelter with plenty of food to eat. He thought about the ants and smiled. "There's a time to work and a time to play," he said to himself. "Thanks to the ants, I've learned how to do both." From that day on, Jolly the Grasshopper was no longer just a musician. He was also a planner, a worker, and a friend to the ants. Together, they spent many winters sharing stories and laughter, knowing that hard work had made it all possible.